An NFL insider dropped a bombshell 49ers report today saying that the team and one of their most important players are in a standstill in terms of a contract. And if this can't get resolved soon, he might be hitting free agency, which would be a disaster for the 49ers. And we're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we've noticed 90% of you haven't subscribed yet. It's free to do so. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any Niners updates, because we're going to give you everything we got, including what you need to know about this potential contract fallout that could lead to one of the biggest pieces on the Niners leaving the team. Let's get right into it because this is huge. First off, Adam Schefter talked about this today. He said, with five-time All-Pro left tackle Trent Williams scheduled to carry a $39 million cap number this season, he and the 49ers currently are struggling to find a contract solution. And if the two sides can't bridge their differences in their standoff, Williams would be expected to join this year's free agent class, of course, making him one of the premier players available. So there's a lot to unpack there, but let's start with what a previous video that we made on this channel, where I talked about how the Niners are going to have to make some massive decisions this offseason. And some of those decisions included restructuring contracts of veteran players. I named Nick Bosa and Trent Williams as the two that would probably be at the top of the list. And they're clearly trying to do that. And there is a standstill. Now, when I mentioned that in the previous video, I didn't have this in the cards, which is that Trent Williams could potentially be a free agent this offseason. That sounds as ridiculous as it sounded like when I said it, but that's what sources are saying. That's the reality of it. And John Lynch was asked about this actually in his press conference today at the NFL Combine, and he said he's talked to Trent and his agent. He said, quote, "Trent loves being a Niner. We love having Trent as a Niner, and it's up to us to figure that out and to thread that needle." That's obvious. He's saying the obvious because Trent Williams is an identity definer of this team. I put him up there with four players. I put him up there with George Kittle, Fred Warner, Jawan Jennings, and Trent Williams. Those, in my opinion, are the four players that help set the identity of this team. You see him walking out with the boombox and everything. He's such an important player for this team, which is why, for me, I just think it's so ridiculous that it's gotten to this point. But the NFL is a business. I understand that. So it makes sense. The reality also is that Trent Williams will turn 38 this summer, and he is committed to playing football this upcoming season. There's maybe some questions about his health, although I don't think that should be really a major question in the grand scheme of all the injuries that the Niners dealt with this past season. But he wants to get his money. That's more than fair. He wants to get as much money as possible, whereas the Niners are looking to make some more room on cap space because they want to ideally bring in some new players for a run to the Super Bowl. Now, the reality is still this. Trent Williams is one of those key pieces for the Super Bowl. And if he's not on this team, I don't see how the Niners can win a Super Bowl without Trent Williams. Now, that seems kind of drastic, but I don't say that about every player. I said that about Fred Warner previously, and I'm saying that about Trent Williams right now. This offensive line dealt with a lot of criticism this season, especially towards the end of the year. You got to remember, Ben Bartch was dealing with injuries. Trent Williams dealt with injuries as well. But the reality is that they didn't meet expectations, and that was with Trent Williams for most of the season. So without him, this offensive line gets so much worse, especially because the Niners don't have a legitimate replacement for Trent Williams right now. And I'm talking about not just for this year, although if he were to leave, nobody could have prepared for that. I'm talking about in the long term. They don't have a guy on their roster, on their offensive line, that they're probably looking at and thinking, yeah, that's our guy. That's for when Trent Williams retires. And John Lynch kind of echoed the sentiment about the offensive line. He was asked about it today, and he joked that he hears the outside noise, but the 49ers are, quote, pretty happy with four of their starters. Left guard, of course, will have to be addressed because Spencer Burford is a free agent and Ben Bartch has been dealing with injury issues. So the Niners think that what they have, they can run it back. Now, there's disagreements on that. I think the Niners really need to go get another complementary piece with, say, Trent Williams. But all signs point to that being the plan, which is They're going to keep at least 4 of their 5 starters. Jake Brendel's still under contract. Colton McKivitz just got a contract extension. Dominic Pooney's still under contract. And Trent Williams, of course, is still under contract for 1 more season. All that being said is it's very obvious that the Niners want to keep Trent Williams. And I think that this probably wasn't maybe in the cards, in the plans to have this standstill. I think maybe restructuring the contract, a potential contract restructuring wasn't going to be like this, but I'm not knocking Trent Williams in his camp. I'm not knocking the Niners front office for any of this. I'm just saying this is the situation. So let's go make it happen. Let's make it happen. Bring this man back. There should be no issues. Let's get this resolved because it's going to have to be resolved fast. The new league year is rapidly approaching, and if he's going to be a free agent, it's going to happen soon. Another thought that I had was, could this be the Niners showing their hand in terms of what they want to build for in this upcoming offseason and free agency? Now, I've said this before, that good free agent offensive linemen don't hit the market very often. They're not always free agents because teams like to hold on to them. Trent Williams, of course, is one. He would shake up the free agency market despite being 37, turning 38 this year. But what if they do something in the draft? I just mentioned how they don't really have a long-term replacement for Trent Williams already on their roster, so maybe they go and get one in the first round. They own their first round pick at 27. There's a plethora of great offensive linemen, specifically offensive tackles, specifically a player from Alabama who might fall to them at 27, which is Caden Proctor. Now, Caden Proctor is a large human being, just like Trent Williams, and I think with the proper development, he could be a beast for the 49ers. But this all is under the idea that he would learn from Trent Williams in 2026. And whatever happens to Trent Williams after his contract ends, whether he retires, he wants to go get another deal, or maybe he returns to the Niners, who knows? Regardless, they have Caden Proctor with a year of experience of learning under Williams under his belt, and maybe he could turn into the starter. But that's all a hypothetical. The Niners, realistically, right now, don't have a Trent Williams replacement if he were to leave in free agency. And when I say replacement, I mean a player that could be in the general talent pool of Williams so the Niners offensive line doesn't miss a beat. They don't have one of those players. I mean, Trent Williams is an anomaly. So it's hard to find a player to match that or at least be a valuable substitute. They don't have that. So if they really want to rock with the four of the 5 starters that they had last year, you got to make this happen. So that's what my final thought is. Make this happen. Resolve this as soon as possible, because in all honesty, this would be a nightmare if Trent Williams were not going to be on this team. That changes the landscape of the Niners Super Bowl aspirations. That's how big of a player he is. So let's resolve this. I say let's like I'm part of the team. I'm just calling for it, but they got to make this happen. They got to resolve this. So we'll keep you updated on the solution or the resolution to the Trent Williams situation. The resolution should be coming soon because the league year is rapidly approaching. So we'll keep you updated on all of that, as well as other things that John Lynch was talking about in his press conference and what that could mean for future roster moves. But for now, that's all for this episode of Niners Digest. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ethan Galbraith, and we will see you in the next video.